Greetings, Sir and Sirettes, and welcome back to Terratech with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome once again to an early morning build in which I've had a couple of beers, and today I just want to build something fun. So today, as the title very well may suggest, I want to build an artillery craft, a craft which can hit enemies from absolutely miles away, but then also be able to fight them more normally if the need arises. And so, we're going to use this. This is the Better Future Pitch Trim Gyro, and that was very difficult for me to say right now. Essentially, it allows us to change our pitch very, very easily without any real adaptation to the craft itself, although once again, I would like this craft to be able to fight normally as well. In the past, I have built very long-range techs using the basic principle of the tech being angled so that it can fire at a 45-degree angle, and then the shot goes whee all the way over there, and then hits something miles away. But today, we're going to take it one step further with the new gyro, and I am already repeating myself, so we're going to just get building. We are most likely going to use the Hawkeye battleship cannon, because this thing is by far the coolest cannon in the game, and it's one of the most effective for its size. Now, of course, we do also have things like the Bertha cannon, which is just absolutely ridiculous, though despite being very, very powerful, it takes up so much space. You can't use many of them on any normal-sized tech, so I tend to stray away from them. Either way though, we're about to see exactly how this is going to look. So, let's get building. Now, what I'm thinking is something which has a very flat base, but then has something on the back which stops it from rolling backwards when it's fully angled. Because remember, the tech will be at a 45-degree angle when it's trying to fire at its furthest targets away. So, we're going to need to build this with a few things in mind, which I'm sure will go fine. I'm sure will go absolutely fine. So with that, let's start building. Just a quick test. Let's see how tracks deal with this. That's interesting. They really compress. If that works how I think it's going to work, that might act as its own very minor braking system. It kind of does. Some techs before just got through backwards by that. Okay, we're definitely going to go with Hawkeye tracks then. Now, if we had more of these, yeah, we could go a bit more insane with the angle, and that's kind of what we want. Now, that's perfect. So right now, it's not moving backwards at all, because this roots it to the ground when it's at its maximum angle. But then, if we turn this off, there we are, back to normal, we can move around. Yep, definitely going with tracks. Lovely. The question is, how big do we want this craft? Honestly, not huge. So this is already sort of the size I want it, honestly. Maybe a little bit bigger. So let's widen this a bit. So add a second section like this here. So mirror this there. And then add another section of tracks. Yep, that seems reasonable to me. Let's go and try that out. Okay, I don't think I want to go much larger than this, so what else are we going to do to the front is the question, because right now it's going to look a little bit boring. What I'm thinking is, we double up the tracks on both sides, then we add one single track here and here to make sure that looks like the front. Then we can build blocks between, add a few angled slopes, and then that should be reasonable enough to make it more distinct at least. Otherwise we're just building a gun block. And the gun block will be just as effective as a very beautiful gun block, but the gun block which is beautiful will be ours. Or something. Oh, these don't have connection points at the front and back. I was doing that for way too long. Okay, that makes sense. So, let's extend this a little bit. So, what I want to do is have these shields as far forwards as possible. No, that's a battery. Well done, Lathrix. Remove those so we can place them again in a second. Let's just put down a block, why not? Then put down these two for now, and then put down the tracks. How about 2 tracks instead? One there, and one over there. Lovely. That's not right. That's right. Then we can connect this section here, this section there. Actually, I think it's going to look pretty cool. Definitely, especially if we do the back section correctly, though I don't know how I'm going to do that, considering I need to have a block there to just hold it still when it fires. If this has less than 6 guns, I'm going to be so annoyed with myself. So what I want at the front is some light weaponry, so probably something like, where are you? Not the railgun, maybe something like the autocannon. It's not exactly the most light of all weapons, but it's good against small techs. Also, unlike a lot of weapons, it takes a few seconds to charge up, which means when I'm firing the main gun, I won't also fire loads of shells everywhere, which always looks messy. So yeah, something like that. Or perhaps even we could go into Venture and use these, the new autocannon, the dual autocannons. Which may be my favourite weapon at the moment, something I really need to use in the main campaign. Anyway, back to this build. Quick test, which of these two cannons fires further? Battleship by a small margin, though it could just be because the barrel's so much further ahead. Let's try that again, shall we? Give it a second so this one can actually fire. About the same. So we're definitely going with the battleship then, because this one just can't stack at all. Unless it's on top of the battleship. That's a weird thing. Also, it turns out that these gyros are not quite as strong as I thought they were. We have all of these underneath, and this is the best we can get. Yeah, that's a problem. And of course, this is also a very heavy craft, to be perfectly honest, but still. Also, I did do some testing, and yes, even if they're on their side, they still work the exact same as if they're, ta-da, as if they're vertical. So, let's quickly pop this down. Let's have a quick test to make sure I'm correct, because, well, let's test it out anyway. You, yep, we can make it nod at will. Something else of note. Originally, the plan was to have the cannons sort of sloping back, so the ones at the front are at the bottom, the ones at the back are at the top. That just makes it look more natural. The issue with this is it actually causes a lot of the shots to hit in a very similar place, because the ones at the back have more altitude, the ones at the front are already closer to the target, thus the shells hit in essentially the same place. So what if instead we have the shells at the front being on top? The idea is, I want to hit as many areas as possible. So, a sort of a reverse wedge? But I don't know how I'm going to do that. Because I want to just carpet bomb a whole area. I don't mind if less shells hit the target. I just want to guarantee something hits them. So how do I do that? It's at this moment Lathrix realises the cannons themselves stack really well for the exact purpose he wanted to use them as. Well done, cannons! You're on my side today. But yeah, seriously, that's exactly what I wanted, just slowly going forward. So if these things fire, let's just turn around, move around from all the lovely bits of corpse. There we are. Yeah, we need more gyros. That is difficult to tell if it's working or not. It should do. The ones at the front should be significantly further than the ones at the back. The ones at the back not only don't have the altitude advantage, they also don't have the horizontal advantage. This thing's going to be deadly. Ugly, but deadly. Like so many of my builds. Okay, still nowhere near where I want it to be, but let's just make sure this does indeed work how I'm thinking it works. Yes, it does. Look at that. That whole section was just devastated. Well, to be fair, in the R&D modes, that whole area was just kind of bright for a second. But you get the idea. Explosives. Yes. Okay, normal mode. Oh, look, an enemy. Goodbye. So, obviously, this thing works in a more standard way. But how about if I wanted to hit those fellows over there? Well, first of all, let's aim. Then, turn these on. Will that be far enough? Don't know. Let's see. Max range and fire. I massively underestimated the range of this thing. That went right over their heads. Okay. That's something I would need to get used to, actually figuring out the range of this thing. How about here? There we go, one is dead, and if I moved slightly to the side, I would be able to shoot the next. So, what we need to do is add the ability to aim whilst we're in that mode. Right now, once we're in that mode, I simply can't turn, because only the back two tracks are actually on the ground, and that's just not enough. So what we need is either rotors, or more wheels at the back. Or maybe both. How did you miss that? You hit that from over there. There we go. You hit the target. Well done. 10 points to you. Well, that definitely works. Note to self, if I fire too fast, then because of the natural recoil, this thing is no longer aiming where I originally aimed it at. In fact, yep, that went completely to the side there. We definitely need the ability to aim after I fire. There we are. Also, that wasn't at max. How far does this go? I've just added some more gyros to the front. I think I have like 30 gyros at this point. Well, that was a scatter shot, and that is further than I will ever need. Perfect. Does it always scatter shot? Let's wait. Okay, so it's no longer moving. Fire. That's wonderful. That whole area is just devastated. Perfect. Well, now what we need to do is sort out the movement of this thing. So, when it's on the ground, it's very, very easy to control. It's absolutely fine. Even though, of course, we are going to add more weight to this thing, I can't imagine this getting too much more difficult to use. So it's absolutely fine. But as soon as we go into the artillery mode, suddenly I can't turn, I can't move forwards or backwards, absolutely nothing is able to be done. Which is okay in terms of moving forwards and backwards, but I do want at least some ability to aim at the target, since after the first shot, we are going to be moving around at least a little bit. We still need something at the back to stop this from constantly bouncing, but even so, we are most likely going to move at least a little bit every time we fire. So how are we going to sort that out? What I'm thinking is that really what we need is the back and the front to be equal. That way, if I'm trying to turn, I don't also accidentally move backwards or forwards, which will be an absolute nightmare. What we could do is remove these batteries here and replace them with the ion thrusters. Then we can have the same with the gyros there and there. Don't know if that's going to be enough, but let's find out. Please don't break apart. Thank you very much. Let's add 2 of these, shall we? One there, and then one the opposite way. Fantastic. Let's paint that when it's alternate colour so it blends in a little bit better. And then we'll do the same over here. So one of you go bye-bye, one of you go bye-bye. And this is going to be awkward. Nope, they're both facing the same way. Let's try that again. Okay, you're correct, but now you're incorrect. This is so difficult to do. There we go, lovely. Will that be enough, or are we going to need more? It doesn't need to be quick. But it needs to be faster than that. Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to need more. Okay, this should be equal enough to not really make us move too far forwards or back. Let's see if it actually turns us. Yep, that's good enough. And very slight movements. Yep, that's fine. Let's pretend I'm trying to aim at those over there. And there we are. Might be nice if it could move a little bit less, but there we are. Perfect. And if that was long enough range, it would indeed hit them. Wonderful. Going to remove these for now. And then I'm going to realise that in fact we need more gyros or we need less weight. Darn it. Well, still, we're getting there. We are definitely getting there. This thing is already definitely functional, but I want it to be perfect, at least in terms of use. Almost a perfect circle. That was very satisfying. So one thing I've just thought of is perhaps in the future what we could do is have a tank which is 2 separate techs, and now I know this has been done several times before, in which the turret is a separate tech to the main body. But now we have these gyros which can actively affect our pitch very easily. We could have the turret itself able to change pitch, whereas the main body itself just stays flat. That way we wouldn't need so many gyros, and honestly it would probably be easier to use. Definitely something to consider for the future when I'm a little bit more aware. I'm slowly getting better at aiming this thing. Slowly. Something occurs to me. This craft, even though it's being built quite stupidly and with a silly purpose, is actually really, really powerful. In fact, I would say it's too powerful for the campaign at the moment, even though originally that was the concept. We can still build something like this for the campaign, but with less batteries and less cannons which are able to be used in a more normal way, because right now, this is probably more powerful than all of my campaign builds. Loads of batteries, really powerful cannons, space for more weapons if I so desire, and it's not even done yet. And imagine removing all of these gyros and then adding more batteries or some more basic weapons to defend the sides. Yeah. Maybe give a chance to aim next time. Hello! Ram. That did not work. How did it... It kind of warped inside. Interesting. Give me a C! It's at this moment I realise I have really made the gun brick I was talking about earlier. Yep. It is the block. Oh, guns. Still, works. And almost done now as well. Once the front's done here, we can sort out the final weapon placements, and then there's very little to do. Like the other drunk build, or Tipsy Terratech, or whatever I end up calling this. This is more just background work, which normally I wouldn't record, just to prove to myself that a certain concept could actually function in the campaign, rather than wasting time on it for a real, proper video like. So I do hope you enjoy this type of more improv video, where I'm not really paying quite as much attention to more permanent things. And of course, I've had a few beers. And hit the corpse. Lovely. And yes, I have been spending maybe the last 15 minutes randomly shooting at different things. Because this is really just that fun. I am definitely building a better future version of this in the campaign. Don't know what weapons I'm going to use though. Has to be a cannon of some kind, because that's the only thing which really lobs projectiles that far. Sadly, missiles just go forward, so that won't work. None of the laser weapons will work, obviously. And on the upside, though, it seems like we're heavy enough, we're not really moving all that much, so I don't need the back section, which I was thinking I might need earlier on. So that's good. Let's aim back towards the target. There we are, a little bit to the left. It's difficult to make small movements, I will say that much, so I do think I need to change it a little bit. There we go. Lovely. What? What did I do? I have no idea what's going on right now. Is it this battery? Oh, yes it was! What? Well, was it actually attached though? I don't get what just happened. I just went like this, that's all I did. Well, now I'm just confused. You know, I think I know what it is. I think it's the gyro trying to force this bit down, which caught the battery, which then forced the battery up with the same force the gyro was forcing it down. But if it was attached, that can't be... I need to rewatch that footage. There we go! We've done it again! Yep, I have figured out a new form of flight! That's wonderful! So, yep, it's the gyro trying to force this thing forwards, but it's impossible because of that battery. So the battery's being forced backwards and upwards, which is forcing it upwards. Essentially, this is the functional version of grabbing your legs and pulling yourself into the air somehow. Obviously it doesn't work in real life, but welcome to Terratech, lads. That's wonderful. I wonder if there's a way to make this reliable. There must be a way to make this work in a reliable fashion. I want a flying tech which uses this completely broken bit of physics we've just found out. We are science! Yeah, something tells me this is absolutely fine on the gauntlet. This reminds me of something, but I can't quite think of what it is. Other than a brick. A brick-o' death. Ow. Excuse me, corpses. Isn't this last one missiles? Oh dear. We okay? We're fine. See? Told you. Fine. And now almost done. We even have some lasers. I've remembered the radar. Drunk Thrix 1, sober Thrix 0. Well, I'm afraid I am all out of time for today's video. There is a little bit more I would like to do, but honestly, I'm just falling asleep at this point. Overall, I think that this was a resounding success, even though the craft is a little bit heavier than I originally wanted it to be. It doesn't quite get to the angle which it originally did, but its range is immense. It's very, very hard to kill. Lots of battery power, lots of shielding. The repair bubbles are a little bit misplaced, but overall, it's a good craft. It's surprisingly good, in fact, and definitely something I'm going to use in the future, and that's the whole point of these little builds in which I'm just trying to learn if certain mechanics work and other ones don't. So if you have enjoyed today's video, then of course, likes, favourite, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Terratech is a series you wish to see continued in the future. And please give me your feedback on this type of series, perhaps with a little bit less alcohol in the future, just when I'm messing around building, trying to see if things work. Is that something you want to see, or should I just leave it for the main campaign? So, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. In the next video, probably back to the campaign.